Hey, so I just finished watching Avengers Endgame, and this is what I thought on the movie. When I first watched it, well, I shouldn't say first watched it. While I was watching it, I really enjoyed it. Like, I loved it, but at the same time, I acknowledged its problems. But the moment the movie was over, I don't know why, but I turned on it, I guess because of, like, plot holes and things like that. Uh, Even though it tries to be bigger in scale, I felt that like it kind of almost reduced the scale, mostly because there's a lack of consequences, and especially the first half was extremely predictable to the point where people basically figured out the movie after Age of Ultron or Infinity War. And I mean, it is really entertaining. Uh, in my opinion, I didn't think the pacing was too bad. The jokes, for the most part, were good, but there were a couple that were really hit or miss with me. Mostly ones that felt like they were, mostly ones that felt like they were appealing to uh, teen culture, I guess you could say. Those sorts of jokes didn't land very well with me, but the other ones were fine. The action was also fine. It gave me a couple of things that I really liked, but it is very CGI heavy, and while trying to be big in scale, it doesn't come off like the punches land or anything like that. Uh, the drama was alright. I don't think it's nearly as good as Infinity War in terms of like drama and things like that. And overall, while I was watching it, I thought was better than Infinity War. But now after watching it, I think that Infinity War was honestly probably better. Yeah, there were like a lot of disappointing elements with it, as much as I really enjoyed it. And it kind of makes me mad after I watched it, which is kind of ridiculous because it shouldn't, but it's just the plot holes are so ginormous and there isn't very much consequence to this movie. Like, you could probably explain all the consequences of this 3 plus hour movie in a sentence. And Infinity War, which is over a half hour shorter than this, and even though half of its consequences were muted, it just had more impact, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'll go into anything more spoilery. I might just label this as a spoiler talk since I want to talk about the spoilers. Yeah, I can't really talk about this movie without going into spoilers, so I'm gonna be quieter now so that way if anyone hears me that hasn't seen the movie gets spoiled, you know. So now from this point onward, since I have to elaborate, I'm gonna be going into spoilers for those who have seen the movie. So if you haven't, you might want to leave before I say anything more spoilerish. I think I'll just label this as a spoiler review. Yeah. So there's only two deaths in the movie on the good guys side. Uh, there's only there's only three deaths in the entire movie. One of them happens twice. Half of the death count of the movie is Thanos. And it's just so preposterous. There's so many plot holes, and they're so gaping and distracting. I really liked what they did with Hawkeye and stuff, even though it was really predictable. But there's so many plot holes. It's so bad. The Tesseract is at like 12 places at the same point in time, and it just doesn't work. And just, oh, it's all ruined. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, I mean, I make it sound like this movie's horrible, but it is like really enjoyable, and I really liked it while I was watching it, but it falls apart so quickly the moment you think about it. And how did they not realize this when they planned it all out 12 years ago? Not one person mentioned, we should probably fix these specific elements. Uh, the biggest death in the movie, I won't say who it is, because I don't want anyone to hear me, but the biggest death in the movie, and if you've seen the movie, you'll know who I'm talking about. The highest build person, I'll say, was extremely predictable. To the point where people basically sequenced it out, myself included, after Infinity War, and were basically right. But it comes off weirdly disappointing when it happens. I think this was the point in the movie where my opinion of it started to shift a bit. It did get an emotional reaction out of me, but it wasn't nearly as strong as Infinity War because then we've seen it before. And then the other death on the hero's side was, it was interesting how that scene played out, but since we saw it before, it still had impact, but not as much, and it kind of just made me go, really? You're killing that person off? That was the most surprising death of the whole movie, for sure. But it just needed a higher death count. Like, it basically has the death count of a filler Marvel movie, which is not good. It needed way more impact, is what was missing. They were going for like the things that they couldn't achieve, when the best parts of the film weren't like parts of the film that they were focusing on that they wanted to get right. The stuff that they wanted to get right most were like the things that failed the most, I thought, because they were really going for surprise and there wasn't a ton of that. They were really going for like plot focus, but then they ruined it with too many plot holes. And it's definitely a movie you should go and see, and it's extremely enjoyable, and I loved it when I was watching it. It's just that the moment you think about it, that's when it starts to fall apart. So I really enjoyed it, and I really recommend it, and it's great. Just know that it isn't perfect at all. And I still would say go watch it. I still really like it, but in the moment, and I can't exactly explain why other than the reasons I have, but I'm feeling a little, I don't know, disappointed, I guess, and a little bit angry at myself for feeling that way, just because I let a couple of plot holes ruin a movie for me. But I'm assuming you've already checked it out. I mean, it's Endgame, especially if you've stayed this long. But yeah. So, what should I title this? Should I title this like normal spoiler review? Or maybe like, I don't know. I'll just say like spoiler-ish review. Alright, have a good day, bye.